1, and we're recording with Don the Pleb, and supposed to be having on a guy that was a Marine who was in Kabul during the suicide bombing, and I don't know, he's MIA right now. He said he wanted to do it, but whatever, not the end of the world.
But the show must fucking go on.
The show must go on, no matter how shitty it will be. So I don't know. I guess we'll just start right from the top. Vaccine mandate, or you're not live stream. I don't want to get you banned.
No, I'm not though. But by all means, my ban is incoming hard. As soon as YouTube finds out what I do off of YouTube, they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, you are banned."
I can't wait for you to join me. It's gonna be such a glorious day. I feel like Tim Dillon's slowly getting to that point because he had one of his like comedy tour posters like taken down from Instagram, and it's him dressed up in Antifa, and it's just like coming to Portland.
Yeah,
he got taken down for coordinating harm and inciting violence, and he was like, "What does that even mean?" He was like, "That'd be like if it was 1940s, and you got mad if the guy's making fun of Hitler, but not Hitler." He's like, the Taliban's on Twitter,
yes,
but I can't post a comedy. So you can see him going more and more into it. I mean, he is the most paid Patreon, makes $178,000 a month.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah, I know. But he says since January, 75% of his YouTube revenue has been scrubbed. They won't put ads on his shit anymore. Because despite him being a gay liberal, he does take some stances on things that are just kind of middle of the road. And he was like, that's not acceptable anymore. And
of course, it's not acceptable. Well, welcome to the game, right? Everybody, it's funny. Around the time we started talking, around the time that we met, everyone and their brother called me a raging conspiracy theorist for telling people what was coming, right?
Yeah.
And it was, look, the timelines are not exact, but I promise you, in about this much time, in about this, and you know what? Most of the time, I've been off by a couple days with multi-year long predictions. So
Jesus. It's so I was thinking you can go back to episodes of like last March of like Dale saying this is a bioweapon, which I love. But I was thinking what's gonna happen next is they're gonna start banning bigger and bigger channels, right? I mean, it's Rogan still uploads JRE clips, but that's just because, right, he has his Spotify contract, so he can't do full up. But he still puts up clips, and the clips he puts up is all about
pretty spicy.
Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, yeah, like vaccine. Lex Friedman's doing episodes about like how the vaccines are driving the variants, and it's you almost need those bigger channels to start to get red pilled. Yeah, like because it doesn't matter when it's me screaming about getting banned. It's like, fuck off, right? It doesn't matter.
This is why the original Sargon of Akkad account is still on YouTube, right? It's demonetized, it's hidden, it's gone from public view in every imaginable way, but it's still there, right? Because he didn't actually get banned. All the rest of us, we get banned. You get up to that 1 million, 2 million, and it's just your subscribers no longer see your content. No longer can you run ads. No one can link to your videos because that's a thing that YouTube does. The only way to find it is if you have an actual URL itself directly off the video that is there because someone passed it to you in email. Other social medias will suppress the links. So you've got a 1 million subscriber channel, but maybe 40, 50 people have any idea what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, so Tommy's podcast is banned, but I found that because I've been banned from YouTube 3 times in 2021 with just different accounts, different accounts that I just had like workout playlists on. I have playlists for sleeping where it's like old NPR videos of some dude talking about T-Rexes. And I would woof woof. Is that a dog?
Yes, I have dogs.
I wasn't sure. It kind of sounded like a metal thing dropping, but I've gotten those banned, and those are because I'm a cuck and a simp. I had YouTube Premium so I could download videos, and I found when those channels would get banned, um, also would go my playlists, and I was like, well, that's the only thing I gave a shit. I didn't make any content with those accounts; they were just for playlists. And
let me do everyone who is in your position a favor and just say 4K downloader.
4K.
No longer will you need playlists because you can download video in high definition, low definition. You can convert video to MP3 and you can download it to wherever the fuck you want. I'm just throwing this out there. Fuck YouTube squarely in their neck. No, it doesn't download the ads. It only downloads the video. And so by all means, go get your playlists.
You could double as like make those little films they play on the airplanes before they take off. You have a good voice for that.
Yeah, that's
notice your seatbelt here. It clicks here. Exits on your left and your right.
Oh,
you
man.
could do that. You could do that.
I don't sound Karen-y enough, and that's the problem. Look, there's seatbelts. Put them on. Look, if there's an emergency, none of you are pulling that door shit anyway. That'll probably be me. Just sit down, shut the fuck up, and do what you're told.
You could make videos for like private planes. So it should be like it just comes on, just you're noticeably slurring your words. You're like you're like the clinking. You're like,
ladies and gentlemen,
listen up, guys.
Please get hammered.
Listen up, guys. First of all, we're about to fly. Can we all appreciate that for a second? We're flying, and that comes with some risks, and some of those risks are death. Listen, we go down. None of you doing anything. It's gonna be hell. We're gonna be screaming. I'm gonna be calling my wife. The only thing that's gonna survive it is this black box. So enjoy. That'd be
speaking of that, and not to totally derail the dick sucking of my voice, because
it's a fantastic voice.
It is a strangely popular thing to do on the internet.
It's sexy.
But did you see any of the, what was it, Todd? What the fuck is this guy's name? I am such an asshole. The Flight 93 guy,
Todd Beamer.
Yeah, Todd Beamer. So the transcript of his call was going around the internet. Well, it's September 12th, so yesterday, right? And I've never seen that before in my life, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, I have heard excerpts of it, right?
Guy's here.
Oh, shit.
All right. Is he here? I hit enter. Dun dun dun. Connecting.
While he is connecting, so I've seen excerpts of it. I've seen people read portions of it on the air, but I've never seen the whole thing. And when you read the whole thing, I think I know why, right? Because there is a lot of the government has no capability to do anything in that call. They put that dude on the phone with an FBI agent who was like, we're pretty sure you're headed to the White House and there's literally nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And that dude's like, I'm going to kill me some fucking terrorists. Let's pray.
Fuck yeah. So for everybody listening, our Marine friend Devin is attempting to join, but there seems to be extreme technical difficulties. And so I just see a gray box with the word Devin on it. So Devin, if you can see or hear us, we can't see or hear you, but we will sit here as you try to join. But
are you guys able to hear me right now?
I can hear you.
All right. Yep.
Devin, can
being kind of slow right now.
No, you're good.
A lot of people hopped on.
You're good. Is there any chance you can join with video or no?
If you give me a few more minutes, I can probably get it working.
All right. Can you multitask, or is that something where do you need me and Dawn to keep filling the air? Because we can keep talking.
Oh, we do that.
We do it anyway.
You guys do whatever you do best. This is my first time on a catch.
All right, man. Well, yeah. Take a couple minutes, figure out the video. I don't give a shit.
Anyway, so fucking Todd here, and unironically, by the way, it is. He calls. It seems like the airline, right?
Yeah.
He calls United is what it sounds like, and they don't really tell you. It just says operator, right? But so for those of you old enough to remember, there used to be these crappy little plastic phones on planes that were in the seats in front of you. And the way that this transcript goes, he grabbed one of those motherfuckers with dudes walking around being like, if you do anything, we'll kill you. And was like, boop, operator. Look, I don't need to make a call and you just need to fucking listen. And tells her what's going on, right? And so she's like, I don't really and he's like, hang on, I think I'm gonna talk to the rest of the passengers and see if we're just gonna go kill these motherfuckers.
Oh, wait. Oh shit, he's here.
Indeed.
Devin, what's going on? Hey, so for everybody listening, Brandon Fisher, a guy I've had on this podcast who I've never met before. This is his friend Devin. And Devin, you were in Kabul 2 weeks ago, I believe. And I have Don here because Don is a Marine veteran and I am not. And so Don is sort of my military translator. So I figure you two can connect more and I'll just sit here like a moron and ask stupid questions. Like, are bonita fish big? But so Devin, introduce yourself, man, for all the listeners.
All right.
That's you, man.
For anybody that's listening, I'll just go with Devin for now. Yeah, I've been in the Marine Corps for about 8 years. And I've been in Kabul for, I want to say the last month. I'm not in there now. We're too busy. I know we tried to talk earlier whenever I was over there, but it was just too busy over there to connect on here. But yeah, and so here I am. Right now we're in Kuwait, so safe hands. Just waiting to go home.
Oh shit! I thought you were back in the U.S. I'm such a moron.
Look at that nighttime over the Hesco barriers, baby. He's a lot of time zones away from us.
Yep.
Oh,
nice and dark.
Oh Jesus! What time is it there? It's got to be what, midnight?
It is 9 o'clock.
Well, I'm just striking out with everything. Well, again, because Don is my military translator. Don, what are the pertinent questions to ask? I mean, we've done several Kabul casts before with Dale, Delta Force veteran.
So before we get to questions, we should get to some disclaimers, I guess, which is to say, if at any point, if you are 8 years in, I'm sure you know damn good and well the questions you shouldn't answer, and we're going to ask them anyway. So tell us to shut the fuck up.
Tell us to shut the fuck up. Also, hey, I speak for myself. Don speaks for himself. Devin speaks for himself. We don't represent any organizations. I don't want to get you fucked for anything. And yeah, if we ask anything, just tell us to shut the fuck up. And I'll reprimand Don for asking those questions.
Indeed.
So Don, you take it.
There is a pretty heavy perception, or at least I have made a pretty heavy argument. And amongst every vet I know, there's a pretty heavy perception that the enlisted were probably pissed sun up to sundown every fucking day with what was going on there. Is that a pretty decent take?
Yeah, I would say, especially as soon as we hit the ground, we didn't even have time to settle in, and it just seemed like everything broke loose and no schedules were set and nothing was really prepared for us. And it was just a situation that we weren't used to, and we were trying our best to handle it. And the next thing we know, we're working so many hours in a day and getting way less sleep than we thought. And so we were all just aggravated in the whole situation.
All right. Well, with the overview question out of the way, I guess. However much of that timeline that you can hand over without getting fucked, by all means, floor is yours. How did that go from? I mean, I presume you don't want to give like deployment timelines or anything. So from presumably there was touchdown and then shit happened. Start there.
Yep. So whenever we landed, we flew in. I don't know how many people were there before me. I wasn't the first flight in, but there were some people there. And the very first night I was there is whenever everything just kind of hit the fan. Like we weren't moving slow, but I mean, we were still getting prepped. We were getting staged, getting our command center up and getting our networks up and everything. And that's whenever it went from 0 to 100. Obviously, nobody was expecting that. We had and people breached the wall, refugees looking to come into the America or at least get out of Afghanistan. They don't really know where they were going. We didn't know where we were going to take them because we weren't ready for it. And that was the very first night. Over 300 people came in.
Wow.
So then our first night of,
I know there's going to be a ton of delay, so I'm going to pause a little bit as I interrupt you every time here. But I think there's a lot there that most people don't understand. So when I was active duty, setup is the craziest rush of your whole life. Everything happens now. Everything happens yesterday. There are guys running to carry 100-pound tents for 500 miles so that a captain can sit in it, and that's just the way that it goes, right? So when you say to me, like, hey, we're in the middle of setup, this sounds a lot like stepped off the plane, went, your gear's over there, go get it, put it up over there. And within 20, 30 minutes, things started to go wrong.
yes. We got off, so I'll break it down a little bit more for all you non-military people out there listening. You get off the plane, you got your main bag on your back. That's your stuff. You got your clothes and stuff on there, and that usually weighs about somewhere between 40 to 70 pounds, depends on how much you need to bring. And then got off the plane, we're staging, we're getting checked in, they're taking your ID, seeing who you are. And then obviously with coronavirus, we had to get tested. So they did a quick swab. And then they verified if we had vaccines or not and made sure we do all the policies for the base. And they said, hey, this is your workstation. Your gear is just outside. So all our Pelican cases and boxes of equipment that we needed to complete our jobs, such as like laptops. And I'm a communicator. So I think of like laptop switches and routers and cables and stuff and antennas. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. But we grab our boxes and then we go to our place where we're supposed to set up. And you're not even settled in. You're setting up your laptops, you're setting up your cables, you're setting up all kinds of stuff. Nice thing is though, with already an established base, the security set up and all that stuff. So most of the stuff is just administrative stuff set up. So and that was probably within the first 4 hours of us hitting the ground. We were setting things up. We pull satellite feeds for our internet, so we don't rely on like Kabul's internet services, because that wouldn't have gone well at all.
No.
And so I remember, nope. I was up on top of a roof, setting up my satellite so I can get internet feed. And the alarms went off. They said that the wall has been breached. Over 300 people have came through. And so I was like, well, all right. And then we all consolidated, got accountability, make sure everybody was all right. And then I just went back up onto the roof to get working. And people were doing their things. They were sending the QRF, Quick Reaction Force, to go help out, contain the people. And the most dangerous part of it all is these 300 people that come in, because we have a screening process. You gotta pat them down, you gotta check paperwork and all that stuff. Well, whenever over 300 people rush the gate and they come through, you don't know what they have. So that was the most dangerous situation. That was the biggest thing that we were worried about, is not knowing what they had in their bags or anything.
So I am out.
Not that we didn't want to help anybody. It's just
I will happily give all the briefings that you're not supposed to give on the internet so that you don't have to, right? So there are things called entry control points, right? And it sounds exactly like what it is, right? There's a little spot where people go through and you do all those things he was just talking about, right? Where, hey, check paperwork, pat these guys down, make sure from a distance, ideally, that their clothing is not bulky and bulgy, because that implies that they're carrying bombs and that you're about to get a suicide bomber. You look for clean shaven motherfuckers, because they are out there. The clean shaven guy in the middle of Afghanistan that is not active duty there with you, that is sweating his balls off in a country that he lives in, that guy's probably going to kill you, right? And so if you have 300 people, you simply can't check for this, not in any way that you possibly could at an entry control point. And so now you are playing Russian roulette with a 300 round drum in there, hoping that one of those guys wasn't the guy that went, oh, that's my chance, because he is now going to get 299 other people and U.S. active duty servicemen.
Yeah. And for everyone listening, I think we've got like a 4 or 5 second delay, and you may have figured that out by now, but because I'm a retard, I feel the need to explain that. But yeah, so yeah. That's all I got.
Carry on. All you from there, Devin. What happened next?
So so basically we spent the whole night. I'm talking, we have been up for at least 12 hours now dealing with the situation, and nobody was getting any rest at all. It was a full force. Like, everybody that was available, they went out and they went to go manage these people, because I'm sure y'all know already that they have flooded into the flight line in hopes that they could get on an aircraft. Now, this is the first night. A lot of the media covered the second day and the third day of it all. And the first night, we were just trying to corral them all up, trying to get them off the flight line, so that way we could process them and get them off, either take them off base or get them on a plane. And so it happened all the way through the night. I remember watching the sun come up, and I was like, all right, well, I still got to put in another 8 hours at this point, because I just finished this. Now I got to keep working throughout the day.
So around this time,
Yep, that was probably the first 2 days.
So around this time, I was getting probably cell phone video of, invariably not from the U.S. military before they lose their minds, of hundreds and hundreds of people on flight lines. That guy that got stuck in the door, the C-130 video that went around, the guy falling off the C-130 video that was going around, right? Is that the output of those 300 people? Am I matching that correctly?
No, there was much more people that came throughout the second day. So the first day, it was the 300 that we contained, and we tried to transition them off the flight line. And then the second day, it all happened mostly at night, or at least towards the end of the night, whenever some of us are trying to get ready to go lay down. More and more people would come on. But yes, what happened was they were all on the flight line, and that's the best place it was big open space, so best place to put them for the moment. And then whenever we were trying to get an aircraft to take off to take some people away, they tried climbing on it. And yeah, it obviously didn't work out very well. Desperate people are going to do desperate things, thinking that they can get away with stuff, and that was the result.
And Dawn's probably gonna laugh at me, but this is like the one thing that stuck out to me more than all the other insanity was you saying like how little sleep you guys were getting, like after 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, like, and that maybe just because I'm a huge pussy, but to me that's like something it just escalates. And if I go 4 or 5 days with barely enough sleep, like being in the safety of an apartment in suburban America, you get a little anxious, you're fucking overthinking shit. When you're at Kabul, and things are just going haywire, is that just a whole nother level of like disorientation, just not being well rested?
Yeah. Everybody's going to deal with it differently, but I haven't had issues. I mean, I've gotten used to staying up for 24 to 30 hours and not sleeping that much, but you'll get people that they'll start seeing things, feel like they're hearing things. And then whenever it is time to get sleep, they can't sleep because they're so wired from whatever the heck they've been doing the last 12 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours. And then it just kind of escalates from there.
So that I always had this weird crossover of things that would happen, and totally right to mention that different guys handle it very differently. But after a certain point, it sort of stops mattering that you didn't sleep. You get, you hey, sit down over there for 15 minutes while we figure out where we're sending you next. And this is where you get pictures of Marines who are like, the rifle their heads on the front sight post and they're just racked out dead. And so it's not usually that you get no sleep, but the sleep you get is not particularly good. You are closing your eyes and letting it go for just a few minutes, but that keeps you going for a while. And then after a while, you're just kind of irritable. Was always the way that it worked for me. And eventually you sort of lose an inner monologue, which is also how you get videos of Marines who are like, you know what, just fuck this bullshit.
Yeah, it's I think Mark Bowden talked about that in his book Black Hawk Down. Is he was talking about Delta guys like Dale and how they would say like, it always like the first 2 nights sucked when you weren't getting enough sleep, and then they said, but then they go on something what they called drone mode, and it was just kind of like the next 2 to 20 days would just kind of happen, and it was just all reflexive, and then you got to the end of it and you crashed and burned, but you get to a point where they're like, you just it's like it's like falling asleep on like in the passenger seat on the highway. It's just dun dun. You just kind of, and yeah, again, not that I can speak to that at all, but I mean but again, that's just what stuck out to me the most, not the insanity of the wall being breached in an international incident. Instead, I'm like, did you get your 7 hours? So again, it shows where I bring in the hard-hitting questions, which again justifies the presence of Dawn here, my military translator. Dawn, take it over. I gotta go pee.
There's a thing, and this happened to me when I got out, where like when you're doing shit in the Marine Corps, it's important and you need to stay awake, and so you just do. And when you get out, you're like, oh man, I could sleep. And you just anywhere, always, forever. And it's sort of like getting home, right? That first week after deployment where you're like, oh man, I could sleep on the roof of a car driving down the freeway.
Yeah, I know the first chance I got to sleep, we were out doing all kinds of stuff all day and all night. I was getting stuff ready, and then I was just tired, and I had my kit on, 50 pounds of gear, and I was like, you know what? I don't know when I'm gonna have to be ready next. I'm gonna sit at my desk. I'm gonna fall asleep right here, and somebody's wake me up. They'll get me. Yep. Had my helmet on my lap, rifle on my leaning against my leg, and I had my kit on. It wasn't very comfortable, but I was tired and I could get sleep, and that's what happened to me.
That's how it always worked for
me. People come in, see me at my desk, and be like, "Hey, go." Yeah.
So outside of sleep things, walls are breached. You get kind of containment out there on the flight line. The next day, more people are rushing things. I assume this is around the time that we start to get the videos of the guy leaning over the wall, grabbing the baby, picking him up and bringing him over, that sort of thing, because I think that's about the right timeline for those that are watching this happen in America. And then what happens?
The biggest issue was we would process people through. I don't know if you've ever been to Afghanistan and know how those people are.
I have, and I do, but I guarantee they haven't.
So they're desperate people. Yeah. Yeah, they're a desperate people. So it's just one of those. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about them because they're in a bad situation. It's not a great country. And they don't have much there, and they're just trying to get away from a bad situation. And so whenever you go to the DMV, you got to wait your turn and all that stuff. And you're like, all right, cool. Now it's my turn. After you've been there for 4 hours, you go. Well, over there, like they've been waiting for days, and we're only processing one family at a time, and they're going to get desperate. So they start charging the gate. We'll maintain order for probably 30 minutes to an hour. And then once they start getting out of hands, we got to shut down those gates, and then it causes more problems because then they're going to rush it even more, try and get more people over. And I mean, it was just a pretty terrible situation, and you see how desperate they get. We have water lines at the gates and stuff, and it's just disgusting water, and they're climbing through it, and there's so much more. It's just very gruesome of the things that they had to go through to try their best to get to us. And we're like, no, like if you don't get processed in the proper way, you're not coming in. And so we'd be sitting for hours, not really letting people in, but watching the gates and watching the walls to make sure they don't climb over.
So,
and then they get more and more ballsy, and they're trying to climb other places. So you got to put more people, and we get more spread thin over time.
So what are ROEs during this time?
It was
and feel free to say no if you can't tell me.
I can break it down. You know, if they have civilian paperwork, American civilian paperwork, or and we had, I mean, obviously we weren't the only force out there. They had Europeans, they had Germans, French, and the UK people out there. If they had citizen paperwork of the countries, UK, of Europe and the United States, they were priority. If they didn't have any paperwork, we're not gonna hold up a line because they didn't have paperwork. They're gonna get searched, and then they're gonna get they're gonna be brought in. I mean, obviously in a safe manner. If we search them and they don't have paperwork, but there's no reason to turn them away, we're gonna bring them in. We're gonna tell them like, hey, this is the paper you need, and we're gonna send them right outside the exit. So that way people kept flowing in. And then if somebody came over the wall, you didn't have a chance. You were detained, flexi cuffed, and you were taken out. I mean, the whole situation was tough whenever that happened, because you could see how desperate they were to come into to leave their country. To the fact that they're climbing over the sea wire or the razor wire,
Jesus
and
Christ.
climbing fences and climbing over walls and going through, and they're throwing everything they can. They're giving you whatever they want. Like we would detain somebody, and they would say, hey, take my daughter, take my son. You can have them. They're yours now. And it's not because that they're a terrible people. It's they know that we have a better life than they would, and they're trying to look out for their children. They're giving us their children so that way we would take care of them. And
so
it's shitty to hear, but
there's
that's the mentality that they have.
I think there's a pause moment there. If he says razor wire, and I don't think that means to everybody what it means to when you say sea wire, concertina wire, right? This stuff is like rolling around in a giant ball of duct tape that cuts you. It doesn't come off. It's a pain in the dick. Just putting it out, you get stuck in it. It sucks.
Yep.
And there's a reason we use it, because it stops people from crossing it.
Yes.
Jesus.
I had to set it up one time. We were doing some stuff throughout the night, and stuff had to get put up, and I have cuts all over my uniform. Like they're ruined now.
Yeah.
From head to toe of cuts, and it instantly gets into you. We have special gloves. They're leather, and it looks like they've been stapled on the palm. They have like 3 layers of leather, and it's stapling all over your palm and all over the fingers, so that way you can grip it. Metal on metal isn't going to catch as much. So this stuff will stick to anything. You'll be dragging it around the dirt, and it catches on whatever it feels like it.
Mm-hmm. And so when he says, razor wire, right? I'm sure most people are thinking, you see that stuff on the edge of crappy, well, even prisons, right? Sure. And that stuff sucks. I don't want to climb over it, but sea wire is that thing that once you've dealt with it, you never want to deal with it again, even when it's there for you, because it's such a pain in the dick. And hey, I'm going to drag me and my family through this stuff. And maybe the first guy doesn't know what he's getting into, but at this point, he probably does because we've been there a while. But the second, third, fourth family that is crossing through that, I'm going to drag my kids through that. Guaranteed. Definitely wasn't there, but guaranteed you've got people who are doing hands over the head, which means they're walking through this shit with just their waist down going through it, which you might as well just like get whipped from the waist down. You would be better off with someone whipping you than you would walking through sea wire. It's terrible fucking stuff. Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, that's how we process people. Is we would if they had the paperwork, whatever, and we bring them in, and that was pretty much it. And then there's a secondary location where you brought them to the terminal, and they would get processed on where they could go from there. We'd have them lined up there, get ready for the flights. We put them in groups. We call them sticks, but you put them in their groups so they can. All right, this plane's ready to take off. First group, stand up and move over. And the first few times, it was an issue because y'all seen the video that people would be running all across the flight lines trying to get on planes. As soon as they saw they crossed that threshold, the threshold of the fence, and they saw that plane, they would either be running or moving as fast as they can to that plane, and they would go to the closest plane, and it's like, well, that's not how this works. And so then it caused more delays there. And then whenever there was too many people not cooperating at the planes, we had to shut down the gates because we can't bring more people in. And it was just an endless process of trying to get these people of this country that aren't used to processes like we have, of the fucking DMV flight terminals, and you got to wait your turn, pull a number. These people just, all right, if you manage to fight your way to the front of the line, you go first. And we had to get them into our processes, and it sometimes it took like loud flashbangs and stuff like that and a little bit of pushing and shoving to get them to cooperate. And we would have to corral them around. It felt like it was just a bunch of farm animals, kind of cows you're trying to push or whatever, to cooperate, so that way we can maintain that process. And I know the projections were we were supposed to be moving so many people out in a certain day, but we aren't making that because like the people just didn't want to cooperate.
So I laugh when he says it's like corralling farm animals. And I'm sure a whole bunch of people went, oh, stupid Marines, just heartless motherfuckers. Look at these people like cattle. No, but if you've never watched them do this, if you've never been there, you have no idea what it's like. So I sieged Marcia, right? And a little bit before we sieged Marcia, half of the city filtered out to where I was standing directly out in front of the base that I was at, which tells you a lot about OPSEC. What can I say? And so there are thousands of people, and you're like, what the hell do we do with these people, right? And they're like, oh, well, just let us in. We'll just sleep over there. No, we're not doing any of that, right? And then eventually they just, one of them gets it in their head that's like, oh, we should just go that way. And then they all do. And you go, well, what, how, I can't just shoot you. What the hell? And it becomes this problem where you see those videos of 500 sheep, and there's a dog running around barking, and he's moving the sheep one way. And that's about what it looks like. You send a fire team of Marines, and they are very angry, and they are yelling, and they start pushing the crowd one way. And it's how it works. Oh my God, heartless, you're comparing them to sheep. It's the only way I can translate this. Well, it's the only thing you know that works like this.
And again, in my service is a little different, but going to college at the University of Georgia, game days when you got 80,000 college students fucked up there, and it's 3 a.m. and they're closing down all the bars. Like, street lights don't apply to people. Like, there's no cars. It's just there's there's just kind of these lines of police, and it's like half the city has to go that way, and everybody's just, oh, let's go that way, and then it's like the other half has to go that, and like you can't do this. You go there, you go there. It's literally like you're on this side of like the main road of Athens. You're now going
that way,
east, and y'all are going west, and it's just what it is. And it's like there's no other way you can deal with it when you're handling. I mean, it's, you know, piss drunk 3 a.m, but generally it's kind of the same thing. It's a complete loss of any sort of social order or understanding of we have to wait our turn. As I want to go now, and we can't go now, but I want to. Well, you're not, and it's just yeah. I mean, there's probably no other way to handle it. And to anyone that is getting upset about it, go fuck yourself.
I approve. All right, carry on.
So yeah, that was pretty much the process. You try and get people on flights and getting processed in, and then obviously with the gates being so flooded with anybody that wanted to leave the country, getting the American citizens and all that to come through the gate was very difficult, because I mean, you have these people waiting at the gate, you know, 2-3 days. I mean, at this point, I know for a fact they've been there for 4 days. All of a sudden, like this family is trying to push past them. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be like, no, you're fucking wait behind me, you know. And so we were in contact with these American citizens. We're like, hey, we need to figure out a new way to get you through, because obviously the main gates aren't working. And so we had to come up with all these different plans to collect these American citizens. I mean, nobody there was actively trying to turn them away or anything. It's just the situation dictated that coming through the main gate isn't working. So now we got to come up with new plans.
Yeah. So,
so
this, I probably should shut my mouth vaguely on this because it irritates me personally. But I know sort of some people who were actively trying to get through the gates, I think around this time, because I was in sort of contact with them, and they were moving from area to area, trying to get a hold of basically anybody and go, look, passports. And all of them that I talked to, or friends of friends or whatever, were all having very similar problems, which was the outside of this really just looked like a clusterfuck. You know, they'd get told, you know, tomorrow at noon, be over here. And by the time they'd get there tomorrow at noon, it would be, well, we changed it, so be over there. Right. So I have to assume that the inside of this was looking equally as clear and scheduled, right? You know, you guys are probably getting, okay, so we're going to have Americans over at checkpoint Alpha, and at checkpoint Alpha, we will be processing them in. And by the time that probably you got set up over at checkpoint Alpha, it was like, okay, well, they figured out what we're doing, so time to move. Did it go about like that?
Yep. I mean, they're a pretty smart people, you know, like, I mean, anybody's going to do this. They're going to see, I know one of the gates that I had to go work at for a little bit, Marines, basically military members, they want to stage and prep maybe an hour in advance to 30, latest 30 minutes in advance to whatever the heck they're going to do. Well, whenever that happens, the people from the outside are going to see some sort of change, and they're like, well, something's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take advantage, and I'm going to bring my family over there before everybody else gets over there. And maybe I can sneak in with these people that they're trying to get over. And it's like, all right. And one person does it, and then another group, and then another family, and another family, and another family. And the next thing you know, our plan of getting these 3 families through this entry point has been completely botched, because the Afghan people were like, hey, something's going on over here. We should go over too, and we might get lucky.
Yeah.
And then it just, now the people that are scheduled to get up there exactly at 11:30, so that we can have that 15-minute window of a clear entrance for them to come into has officially been ruined, because now it is filled with people at least 30 minutes before we even start. And so then it turned into, okay, now we need to come up with a different plan. And working with some of the soft units out there, we got pretty creative. Can't say any of them, but we managed to get the people, get them into base and processed and sent to America. And it's pretty great. Sometimes it was such a fast-paced situation that somebody would come over that wasn't supposed to, and it wasn't too big of a deal. We searched them and we're like, okay, no, whenever it happens, like if you didn't have that paperwork, sorry, buddy, you got to go back out and you got to try again.
So,
and it just happened like that every night.
This is a thing that telling these people no was not a problem for like me personally, but it caused a lot of problems when I was there, right? So hey, we have decided that when we show up here we get X, and you go, this is not the humanitarian food base, sorry, we can't just feed you because no. And we get like kind of tiny riots. Now, I imagine if you're dealing with one or two at a time, you can't really get a riot, but did you get a lot of physical altercation out of that sort of thing? A lot of actual fighting?
No, surprisingly, at least majority of the time. I don't know. I didn't work the gates. I worked getting people in.
Gotcha.
I worked on the families that we had contacts with outside, and we had special teams that would go and we would collect them. But there was a few times where I had to work a gate where, like, this is just how the people are. You tell them, hey, you can't sit here, and you'll put an X on the ground. Like, you cannot stand here. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. And then you turn your back, classic cartoon fashion, they're on that spot. And you turn around and you're like, no, you can't go there. And then you push them off and they're like, oh, okay. Oh, sorry, sir. And it's like, okay. And then you turn around, you turn back around. Guess what? Your best friend standing there on the X where he's not supposed to. And you're like, it's so frustrating. And you're trying to help these people. And you're kind of like, I don't want to be nice anymore because you're really pissing me off. And so you got to be like, the world was watching. So you got to be gentle as best you can. But there's moments where it's just like, you will grab somebody and you will pick them up and you will move them. And if they do it again, you're going to get a little more physical every time.
So that probably, again, sounds horrible to a whole bunch of whiny dick sucks in this country because, well, but why didn't you just explain it to them? Like, well, okay. Whether you like this or not, right? There are a lot of reasons to say don't stand on this X. Not the least of which is that X is probably a good place to blow something up. And so if you've got people just standing on that X, no, get the fuck away from here. And at some point or another, specifically with a group of people who, as mentioned earlier, are perfectly happy to use might makes right as a method of determining who gets to go where. At some point, you have to go butt stroke. Okay, do we all get the point now? Don't stand there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is too, like, you'll have your interpreters there. Like, people will say, like, well, it obviously wasn't explained clearly enough. It's like, yes, maybe it wasn't explained clearly enough. There's a huge language barrier. And that's not even the thing. A lot of the people there, they're educated. I mean, Americans have been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
So my first time in Afghanistan, I had kids coming up to me asking me what the time was, what kind of watch do I have? Like, what's your favorite color? Like, just, talking to me in plain English. And it's like, okay, you tell that kid, like, hey, don't stand here. You tell a family, don't stand here. Somebody in there is speaking English. And you can say, hey, like, this is for the standby section. Like, you can't stand here because of this reason and this reason. They're like, oh, okay. Well, now they understand, like, oh, well, the people that are supposed to be going to the gate next are standing there. Now I'm going to stand there. And then it's like, okay, well, now your explanation has just fell through, because now everybody knows people that go in the gate next standing on that X. It's like, all right, well, what's the point of explaining? And then and in a bigger term, you know, the people obviously know they shouldn't be climbing over a 30-foot T-wall, concrete barrier, to get into base, right? That base has been there for I don't know how many years, and they've known for so many years that they shouldn't be doing that. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm going to do it now. You can't, like, holding their hand and patting them on the head saying everything's going to be okay after they just breached your wall, you know, is not the proper way to handle somebody. I'm not saying that we're physically assaulting anybody, but, you know, you grab them, you put them in flexi cuffs, and you check them, you pat them down, and then you walk them to wherever they need to go to get processed out. And I can guarantee, like, nobody was there being violent more than necessary. All right, we weren't just randomly beating people. We would grab them by the arm to control them, and then we would move them. We would push them. We would do whatever needed to, as long as they got the point and we were able to do our jobs.
So
I never had to hit anybody. I never had to punch anybody.
This is a thing that
Yes, go ahead.
I always have trouble explaining to people, because nobody ever wants to hear it, really, is despite all of the most feared fighting force in the world, no better friend, no worse enemy, taglines of the Marine Corps. Oh my God, they're shock troops recruited for bloodlust. I mean, look, you can look at all the things said about the Marine Corps throughout time. The one that matters in there is no better friend, no worse enemy, because sure, you drop a bunch of Marines into an actual hostile combat environment, people are going to die, and a lot of them. But I have watched guys pick up kids and set them away from them as the kids are trying to steal magazines off of their flak jacket, right? Now, that's not a thing that you let people do in a combat zone. You don't let them take your ammunition. No, little Afghani kid. No, stop it. No, you're not allowed. No, I need those NVGs. Leave it alone. You know, and on this goes. And these are the people that I listen to, all these America hating dick sucks that run around talking about how the US military just kills everybody. And I went, you know, at some point while you're doing this with these kids, you go, Jesus Christ, I just want to kill this motherfucker. And you don't. And nobody does. And it never happens. So I wholly believe, Don, what about Haditha? Yeah, there's a reason you have one thing from 15 years ago, not yesterday we killed a shitload of kids because they were trying to steal our gear. And there's, you know, I'm sure they were still showing the video from the, you know, Haditha investigation when you went to boot camp, because the Marine Corps hates that happened. So as much as I am perfectly willing to say, look, at some point you do have to butt stroke people, there's a very high likelihood that at some point is pretty far down the road. But at some point you do, right? And if you don't need to give Marines all these rules of engagement that everybody is so focused on over the years. You just go, use as little force possible. And they do every time.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
We were managing a gate. We were bringing in a couple buses of families. And that was in a gate that had thousands of at. It was just a sea of people. It looked like a tailgating party, I swear. And we had to manage that gate and push people off of the entrance because it opened outward. So it was kind of difficult for the whole situation. People, as soon as we started opening it, people understood, like, this gate's about to open. So the Afghans, they would pull on the gate. And so now, instead of us pushing on the gate and trying to push people off of the gate, it turned into, all right, now it's a tug of war, so it doesn't get opened all the way and we lose control. We had C-wire or razor wire at our ankles. as we were trying to pull us. So that way, if anybody did get through, they got tripped up in the C wire, and then the team behind us was able to wrangle up anybody that rushed through. The most aggressive we got, for me at least, I couldn't, it was dark and there was flashbangs going on. The most aggressive I would have gotten is somebody that tripped in front of me who's trying to like move back. They tripped. It's like, all right, I just grab them by the arm and lift them up, and I direct them which way to go, and they would move. Towards the end of that whole situation, it changed a little bit, because they knew that we were leaving, and obviously the 1,000 some people that haven't gotten through, well, now they want to get through. But yeah, so I know for a fact, like that the whole Marine mentality is everybody is aggressive. All the Marines, they're aggressive, but it's a switch, right? You turn it on. We're there to be aggressive. Once there's no need for it anymore, we turn it off. Right? We're always ready to do it, but we don't always do it. And we're goddamn teddy bears. I'm not gonna lie. We're probably some of the nicest people. Yeah, we got foul mouths and we're fucking big and scary sometimes, but like we'll be nice to the most annoying fucking kid that you'll ever come across. But if for some reason somebody were trying to hurt that kid, we're gonna be the most aggressive people in that fucking room. And then they've seen it, right? And there's a reason why they put us on the exterior. The Marines were in charge of all the gates, in charge of like the security of the whole place, while the Army and all them, they're sitting there waiting to react to whatever happens, because we can turn on that aggressiveness in the proper time, and we're trained to do that. We're trained to know when to be aggressive and when not to be.
Again, I always have trouble explaining that.
God forbid that you're on that receiving end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah,
how
there
did
were
leaving go?
Let's go ahead. Sorry.
How did getting out go? Because that looked like from the outside just a raging disaster. Almost to the point where it was, I'm exaggerating a little, but run towards the plane and pick up what you can on your way by kind of disaster.
Surprisingly not. The press, when it was coming time to leave, the press was all over the place. They knew that they could get that good story, and so like most press do, they make that story the best that they can, right? You compare, we compared people that work in the press to book writers, right? You got your fiction book writers. The difference is, that you're getting fiction whenever you read the book that the author wrote, but you don't know what you're getting whenever you get the information from the press. But yeah, so they were obviously everywhere as we were leaving, but it was actually very controlled. The base is getting shut down. So in classic fashion of most people, they were seeing what they could take and what they could be behind. They're like, oh, all right, well, here's a fucking whatever. I'm gonna take it with me because, well, I've been here, They'd find like a Zippo lighter or something like that. I mean, you can use your imagination, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was actually pretty organized, pretty well planned out on us leaving. The only issue was the process of us leaving got interrupted. We got the first, I think it was 1 or 2 flights out of military personnel. I don't know who was all on the planes. I wasn't, so I didn't care who it was. I just knew that we had U.S. military on those planes going out. They could have been like, oh yeah, we got Navy and we got fucking Air Force and whatever. Like, cool, whatever. I wasn't on it, so it didn't matter to me. Yeah. I sat there and waved goodbye, and then it got interrupted, and then the plans for us to leave got pushed back a little bit, and it got compressed a little bit. It turned into, all right, have all your stuff staged. You're going to be leaving between this hour to this hour. And it was like, you're working with a cable company at that point. You know, you got like a 5-hour window of when you could possibly be leaving. So be ready. Like, all right, I'm going to sit at my desk with everything on and I'm going to wait.
So,
and sometimes you left a little earlier than you expected and sometimes a little bit later.
Hey, Dawn and Devin, this is my buddy Josh. Josh has been on here before. Josh was a Marine. Josh, this is Dawn, and then Devin. It's got like a 5 or 6 second delay on us, so there's like a long delay in time. But Josh was a Marine. Josh served in Afghanistan and/or Iraq. I don't remember which one.
Iraq.
But Iraq. And so we're just kind of going through asking Devin questions right now. Devin's in Kuwait right now. He was in Kabul for like what he said, like a month, and talking about all sorts of shit right now, and Josh is smoking a fatty right now, and
yeah, I'm
Josh,
smoking a fatty right now. I might have to jump off here at some point, but I just wanted to chime in real quick and say
Yeah,
I
man.
do apologize for showing up late. And
no, shut up. Who cares?
all right, man. Cool.
Well, if you can only chime in for a second, do you have any questions for Devin?
I don't even know what's going on right now, so I'm going to listen, and then I might chime in.
Fuck you,
fair
Josh.
enough. So, I don't want to gloss over what interrupted means here, because I feel like interrupted means lost a dozen Marines and a corpsman. Is that what interrupted means?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, that shook everything. I'm pretty sure there was like a good hour where everything was just, like, once the smoke settled, the dust settled, there was at least an hour or two where we were just like, we weren't going to function properly. So we kind of had to put everything off for a while.
So I really think most people who are not Marines don't understand this, right? Every Marine I know was like, holy shit, we just lost a dozen Marines. People who've been out for a decade were fucking touched. And when you're there, there's a lot of, you do have to get over this and get back to your fucking job, but it's still the biggest kick in the dick you've ever had in your life. And it doesn't go away. And at some point you put it to the side and get back to work. But, and make no mistake, when he says for an hour, that's fucking intense, right? Because I know guys who were like calling me crying 2 days later. Like we made such bad fucking decisions that I lost a dozen brothers that I never fucking met. And this, I don't even know what to do with this. Don, do you have answers? And I went, no, there's not answers to this. This is just fucked up. And so, for those of you who want something to compare it to, unironically consider that your mother, your brother, your cousin just died, and 60 minutes later, you have to be standing in front of a wall of people who want something from you that you can't give them.
Devin?
It's weird, you you explain it best you can to people out there. Like dealing with it too. It's whenever they say like, oh yeah, we're in the military, we're family, it really is. And it's like, oh, that's just cliche because sports teams say that you're family and stuff like that. It's like, yeah. I mean, I've been on a few sports teams. I don't talk to any of the people that I've been on a sports team with. But there's Marines that still will hit me up and ask me for advice. And I'm like, yo, like, what have you been doing? And they're like, oh, I'm working at this company doing this. And I'm just kind of in a tough spot. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, like I got you. Like, anytime. I can call up 10 Marines all over this fucking country right now. And not Kuwait. Although I could probably find 10 Marines anywhere. But all over America, and I could call them up and be like, hey, I'm coming home. You want to hang out? And they say, yeah, I got an extra couch for you. I got a bed. And I wouldn't have talked to that person for 4 years, And it really is family. And so
it's really hard to describe.
whenever we lost them all, it kind of.
I personally, I took a weekend off not too long ago, and to put this into perspective, I got out 9 years ago, right? And the guy that I went through most of the Marine Corps with, all the way back to MOS school, I drove 1,500-mile round trip to go spend a weekend with, because that's how this works. And you get a real gut check of who finds out, who thinks that you're important enough to give a shit about, because nearly everybody I've ever met, you go home on leave, and I was in Camp Lejeune, which is East Coast, and I came from California, right? So I'd go home 3,000 miles, and it would be, well, man, can you drive across town to come see me? Like, no, there's 40 of you. I will be here. We'll see who thinks it's important to show up. And you know what? You don't get that with the Marine Corps. You don't. It's holy shit, you're within 100 miles of me. I'll see you this afternoon. And it's a very different thing. And it's very hard to explain to anybody who doesn't already get it.
Dawn, keep asking questions because your questions are good. Josh and I are sitting here watching. We're just we're here in the audience.
I'll see what I can do. So I know a guy who knows a thing, which is as much as I can explain about this, but I did have some information flow to me, we'll say, out of the command structure. And it seems to me like after that bomb went off, Marines wanted to do what Marines want to do when bombs go off, which is to say, there is an enemy. We know this. And I have a dozen dead friends over there to prove it to you. And that you guys got grabbed by the balls and told no. Is that about right?
Yeah. Yep. Everybody was ready. Anybody was asking around. They're like, are we doing anything about this? Like, where can we get together so we can go out and handle the situation, try and put a stop to this. But yeah, we were ready. Everybody was, not even just the Marines, but the Marines were most advocate about it. They were asking, they were wanting to go. And I didn't sit on the command floor. The war room, I guess is what you could call it. I wasn't sitting in there and hearing what was going on. But I know with plans were brewing from the teams that I was working with. They would come in and they would say, hey, this is a possibility that's going to go on, like, stand by. I'm like, oh. So yeah, we were ready, but in all reality, we all knew it, that we weren't going to go, because we were days out, less than days out. And so us starting that would have forced us to stay longer, which by our call, we wouldn't have mind. But obviously people in other places would have cared, and they didn't want us there. So, and the craziest thing is, the Taliban had nothing to do with it, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And they made sure that they knew that we knew that it wasn't them. And we're like, okay, like, we know it's ISIS. So yeah, it was it was a wild ride. I'm not gonna lie, that the last like week we were there, it was pretty wild dealing with all this stuff. And the them pulling the chain on us kind of sucked too.
We're going to touch on land of invariably you should tell me no, but as promised, I'm going to ask the questions anyway. I had personally, during this time frame, sort of a byproduct of what I do, intel coming to me that said, hey, you guys were going to have serious problems. Now, I make no mistake in thinking that if I know, the military probably doesn't know, right? That's foolish. And I despise people who are like, oh man, we have better intel than, the people who are monitoring things in ways you can't possibly imagine. And so I have to assume, and I will ask this as broadly as possible to avoid causing you a problem. I have to assume that there were serious reports going around of, look, there are people with suicide vests, and we know it. There are, there are fighters who are headed this way. This kind of report, not those specific things, but that kind of report flying around every 15 minutes is about the way that it sounded.
Well, you're in an active war zone. Of course, that would be a part of the briefing, wouldn't you imagine?
Well, so not
Yeah.
a generalized briefing, but so for anybody who's ever stood a post anywhere, at some point, you get, hey, we have reason to believe sniper in the area for the next 6 hours, right? And the very acute reports that come down that tell you like, hey, today, right now, we are about to have a problem. Is that about how it was?
Yeah. I'll just say, especially my first time in Afghanistan, I won't really cover this time right now. But like we would get reports out there in Afghanistan, like, hey, this Toyota Corolla is a possible vehicle-borne IED, and you'd get those probably like this color and this specification would be of that day, and then the next like 2 days you get another one, and then a few days later you get another one. And so I mean, yeah, those came down. They weren't as we didn't get them as often this time as we did last time, but
Really?
we would still obviously get the briefs of, hey, this is what a IED is, this is what an asbestos is, and so be aware that they're out there, right? We're still in a combat zone. We're still in a country that has people that want to kill us. So be mindful of this. But yeah, we got reports, and there was a few where I was kind of like, oh shit, this is it. So
So, all right, the pulling out portion, big scandal on U.S. soil. Marines round up reporters and push them onto planes. Now, I have seen reporters in war zones, and they are the most dramatic bitches you could possibly imagine. So I get the distinct impression that this was not you guys grabbed people by the hair and threw them in
Yep.
planes, even though that's how they made it sound. Were you there for that? Do you have any idea how that actually went?
yeah. I was there in the last 2 or 3 days. I didn't come across any press out there. I know everybody's attitude towards press would probably be approximately the same for me. Is if I would have saw him and he started asking me questions, I'm like, get the fuck away. Right. I don't want to talk to you. You have nothing to say to me. Right. Press obviously isn't very trusted these days. So I'm not going to have some reason for me to get soiled on some media network that like feels like that they could demonize me or fucking, I don't know what. But I do know that there were times where we're kind of like, well, we should probably get the press out of here as soon as possible. But I think it all came down to is like, honestly, the press want to leave, they can leave. They want to stay, they can stay. Because I don't know, they got this weird golden ticket that allows them to go do anything they fucking want. And so if they're scheduled to get on a plane, they're getting on that plane, and we're going to make sure of it. But if they haven't specified that they want to go on a plane, go ahead and take your chances with whatever you want whenever we're all gone.
See, that's interesting, because the way that got reported here, and I have to assume that the way that this went is like media organizations came down and said, okay, put my reporter on a plane at Tuesday at 7 p.m. And the Marine Corps went, okay, but you better know that if you tell us, guy, 7 p.m. plane, he will be on that plane, or, he'll already be dead. But those are the only options. And then the reporter showed up, got told, get on the damn plane, and went, well, but I don't want to. And thus we get all these stupid stories about, the Marines forced me onto a plane.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, right? Like if we had a group of like a family that said, oh, we don't want to get on a plane right now, we're gonna be like, look, we counted the seats and we counted the bodies. You're getting on to fill those seats. We don't care how you get put on there, whether it be in cuffs or obviously it didn't happen. But that's just the mentality that we had out there. Like, we are counting every individual person and we are making this as fast as possible, get as many people out as possible, and leaving an empty seat, that's not going to be good for us.
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
saying somebody's out there like watching is like, oh, they had an empty seat on the airplane, but it was like, we went through all this trouble. You went through all this trouble to get on a plane, and now you say you don't want to because it's not the right flight you want to be on. We counted that seat. It needs to be filled. You're getting on.
It's like being on the Titanic and being choosy.
yeah. Well, it sort of, right? But
yeah,
go back to earlier in this discussion where it's, look, I can't process people fast enough. I can't get enough people on these planes. I don't have enough planes. That seat that you would have been inhabiting if I let you get off, 500 people wanted at an absolute minimum. And you're going to be some bitch who cries about it not being the right seat. Shut the fuck up and get on the plane. So, what else?
Question is, was there any when they fit 847 people on that? Was it C-17? Was it a Globemaster? Is that what it is? Don, do you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I've seen the picture, but it's just the inside of a C-130 to me.
Oh, was it C-130? Whatever it is, they got a. Now, just on a side note, was that a record? It's got to be
Probably.
a record, right? 847. I mean, I thought that's
I
like
don't know about body count wise. I don't know if they could. I know it can handle the weight, right? You can put a helicopter in there and it would take off.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know. I'm pretty sure it's not really tracked, but it's hard to think that 800 people. I think I do know it was so packed that like people weren't sitting, they were standing during the flight.
Yeah. There's a bunch of super smart fact checkers who are out there to tell you it was only 650, and I don't really care. It was a tuna can, and you jammed as many people in it as you could.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I know that, and I know it's definitely not meant for that. I know it's just the weight, but to me, I was just thinking in terms of like, that is novel information, or that's research data for future. Right, you're always learning from the past. I mean, they used the Antonov 225, the biggest plane in the world. They've used that for like impromptu refugees. I think they put like 15 or 1600 people on that once, and like that thing's meant to carry like transformers and like diesel locomotives. It's the one with 6 engines. Yeah. But so I was just wondering, like, I mean, I wonder if that would be valuable data for if there is a, we said there would never be another like Saigon, but here we are. So it's like, well, we keep saying this won't happen. It's happened twice now. So maybe we should just maybe we should know what these planes can do. Just I thought as a moron, that's what's on my mind.
So I will compare this as best I can, given the people who are here. At some point while you're in the military, you are doing something with your gear that you are explicitly told it cannot or should not do. And that's just how it goes, right?
Yep.
So we've got comm down below. Bet you we can bounce some radio signal around this mountain. I don't know. We're going to try because we need to. These cannons can only move this far, this fast. The fuck they can.
Fair enough.
This is the story of every MOS.
So I know for me, this wasn't Afghanistan. This wasn't anything very recent, and I'm not going to cover any FCC rules. So if you happen to look them up, you're going to be like, wow, okay. I'm a communicator. I'm a field radio operator. Okay. We have a lot of rules to follow. And you'll get briefs and you'll be like, I did that. Which some sort of that. But I do remember that we got asked, they're like, can you get this shot, this a radio transmission, we call them shots. You're shooting your frequencies as far as you can to go from this location to this location. And I was like, yeah, I'll try. They gave me 24 hours. I wasn't happy about that because like my math teacher told me, you'll use this in your lifetime. And I went, no, I won't. Well, guess what? I was fucking sitting there using those equations, and I was on Google trying to figure them out because I didn't remember them. Because I thought I was smarter than my teacher, I guess. But yeah, there were specific things that we weren't supposed to do. And I was just like, well, if we want this to work, we're going to have to do this.
Yep.
And, no, it worked. And I was like, all right, well, not going to do that again.
We totally didn't break the rules. Don't ask, don't tell, which is a joke that I make all the time. This is the real guiding principle of the military. Don't ask, don't tell. It had nothing to do with being gay. Like, you want this done? Fine. Don't ask me how I did it, and I won't tell you.
It's fair enough. Because I know you're 90
my
million.
favorite phrase is a lot of uncool people got to get cool real quick.
That's pretty fucking good. Dawn and well, Devin, because you're a million hours ahead of us. Are y'all good to do like 15 more minutes? Is that all right, Dawn?
I'll be here as long
I got all the time.
as long as is necessary.
All right, well, fine. All right, I guess you both have time, so we'll keep going. Dawn, continue with the questions.
So there's always something that gets, skipped over in the storyline, right? There's always, hey man, you asked for a timeline and I gave you one, and you've asked questions, but there was this other thing that's not really important to the timeline, but sticks with you, right? Like I got a ton of stories that have really nothing to do with oh, you see, you were involved in these things that were on TV and I was very excited about them and I want to know all the things about that. And like, yeah, but there was this other moment where a friend of mine was in a really shitty situation that really exemplifies this, but isn't part of your questions. You got anything like that hanging around that we should know?
Probably not right now. I mean, it's still pretty fresh, I guess. So I'll probably come up in another month or two. I won't know.
That's fair. Looking back is always, this was more important than I thought it was. So you're all right. I have to assume you guys were I don't know, pulling C-130s, or you're pulling probably a company out at a time on your way out. When you're getting, well, first of all, were you there when it's down to the last, say 500 guys or something like that, or are you, were you out of there before then?
I want to say like the 5th, or I don't know. Trying to think. I was probably about the last 4 planes out. So I mean, there wasn't a lot of people left. I do know I had a buddy that was part of the last 2 planes. So they sent the Marines out first. They were like, get the Marines out of here. They had another unit there, Army, and they had still foreign units or foreign military there. But yeah, when he landed and talked to me about it, he was like, it was kind of sketchy, first you're on this base that was heavily guarded and heavily protected, because you had all these people outside these walls that were trying to come in and stuff. And now you're walking around and you don't see anybody. The only time you saw anybody is whenever you actually got to the plane to board it. He was collecting his stuff. He's like, there's nobody in this office, and an office that has to be manned because of all the secret material that's in there. And you're kind of like, this is weird. He said he's kind of like nervous a little bit. He wasn't like super sketched out, but he was kind of like had that weird eerie feeling.
Yeah. I pulled out of a little teeny tiny base once that we had set up for just one operation.
Yeah.
And it is, once everything's up off the ground, there's nobody hanging around. You're the last 50 guys that are, standing there. Now would be a good time to leave.
You're like, that was a yep. And it's funny too, because like you think about it, and I guarantee that you've probably thought about it too. You're like, I'm the most biggest, baddest motherfucker there ever was. And then there's that moment where you're just kind of like, I do believe that, but I don't feel like it right now. I want to get the hell out of here.
That is exactly. Yeah, there is.
I don't want to be tested on that right now.
Right. There's a slightly different confidence level when you're rolling around with a battalion of Marines than when you're rolling around with 2 squads of Marines.
I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker.
Yeah.
You just not today. I got a note from my mom. I said, I don't have to do it today.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
So that's interesting, because I tell a story pretty regularly about, one of the things that I dealt with is a bunch of classified material, which mostly dealt with troop locations, and no small part of my job was, look, if we're in any position like this, your job is to be super glued to this secret material with a hand grenade. And the reason for that is, if anything happens, you pull the pin on that grenade, you strap it onto the classified material, and you wait there. And you make sure that it is gone.
Yep.
And if the grenade doesn't do it, I don't care what you have to do. Walk in there with a lighter, walk in there, pull out that M16 and start mag dumping, whatever you have to do. No classified material exchanges hands, at least to the enemy, right? And so that is, for those that hear, like, there's a bunch of classified material around there, and one guy, like that one guy had some responsibility on his shoulders. And no small part of the briefing you get when you become that guy is, if you have to die destroying this, you have to die. And that is, it's kind of a big deal.
Well, yeah.
And so I kind of want, again, with this seems like almost a clusterfuck. Is this guy just like dumping the stuff into boxes and like, all right, time to get out of here? Like, this just in Connex box, whatever it is. I don't know, the stupid big green boxes or whatever, and then running this to planes or something, absolutely crazy like that.
So I knew that something like this was probably going to come up while we talked, because that's the biggest topic of the whole world right now. It seems like everybody's like, oh, enemy's got all this classified information, and that's just part of the story, that's the thing, that's that page turner that every press member has in their little fucking arsenal right now.
It's
and in all reality, we had plans for it whenever we touched down, of what we would destroy and how would we destroy it. So if it came down to it, like before we even, because we staged in another country, and in that country we prepared, we came up with those plans of, all right, if this is going to happen, this is how we're going to do it. And then whenever we got touched down, we're like, all right. And I guarantee, so as a communicator, it's always on our mind of like, how are we going to protect our secrets, so it's always funny to see all over media like, oh, well, these secret information is like, okay, that's part of my job. Like, I am specifically told, like, part of, because everybody gets their own description of what they're supposed to do for their job, and mine is to destroy classified information, secret information, top secret information, if something were to go wrong. And I'm supposed to determine what goes wrong and how I'm supposed to destroy it. And so as soon as that first breach of the 300 plus people on the wall, my instant thought was, what's going first and how am I destroying it? It's just kind of one of those instant reactions, you know. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go start running and just deleting stuff. No, it's like, all right, I'm ready to do this when it needs to be done. Once they, so you got a dog, you know, he's on a leash, he's getting ready to take somebody down, and releasing that leash. That's me going to destroy stuff. But they had a plan for it all the way. Obviously, the plan would progress and change a little bit here and a little bit there as the days got closer to the end. And so the list of destruction and the list of keeping things changed too.
Yeah.
But it basically, the last, I know that like days before I left, they were destroying things already. You know, they were taking their due diligence of like, hey, this isn't being used, destroy it. And we're talking like the jammers, signal jammers. Those are pretty big units on a vehicle. So it's kind of like, well, pull out the main components that make this thing operational, destroy them. You know, we're not going to use them because we're not going outside the wire, destroy the jammers on the vehicles. And ironically, you pull them out of the vehicle, put them under the tire of the vehicle, and you drive over. But yeah, we started destroying stuff well in advance. So we weren't rushed in that aspect. We weren't rushed of keeping our secrets, keeping our classified information. Anything that was small enough as like a man pack radio. Man pack radios fit inside of backpacks. So we pack them up and we take them on the plane with us.
Yeah.
There's devices that keep our encryptions and stuff. So you pack them up and take them with us. But if we didn't need it, it was big and bulky, you destroyed it. You would do this thing called Zero Eyes, where it deletes all the information, and then you crush them, shoot them, smash them with hammers. You did whatever you needed to.
So for comparison's sake, for everybody else, you're talking Manpack radios, probably the best descriptor I've ever heard is they're roughly the size of a football, at least assuming you're still using the same ones, and I'd bet you are. But I think skills are common enough terms these days. They're about the size of a cell phone, but they're thicker, you know, stack 2 or 3 cell phones on top of each other. Most of that stuff is really portable. But when you're talking about signal jammers, right, you're talking about something in total components. First of all, ripping it off the vehicle, which is what the kind of thing that I hear from everybody. Well, why don't you just take it off the vehicle and take it with you? Well, because signal jammers in total are something like 8 feet tall just for the antenna. I mean, they're freaking giant. And it is infeasible to move.
They're like 170 pounds.
Yeah, it's a person worth of space and weight. And that doesn't even include the jammer itself. That's just the antenna. I mean, these things you would need an additional set of planes just to move them. So, and there's, I don't know, there's mountains of things we could go over. You know, the laptops probably made it in somebody's pack on a plane. The radio mounts may or may not have. They're pretty big, it turns out, but in that you get I don't know, I don't know how much ass bleeding detail we should go over there. Go ahead.
I will say, for all the listeners, right, I guarantee some of you have gotten upset, like, oh, we're leaving all this stuff behind for the enemy. It's like, well, yes. If you were to think about it, it's your last day of school, and for some reason you still have all your textbooks. Are you really going to carry your textbooks back home with you whenever you're not going to go to school for a whole summer? No, you're going to toss them. You're going to get new ones the next day, the next time you go to school. So you're just going to toss them. No point in carrying that extra weight. So it comes down to, are we going to use our very shortened timeline to transport personnel out, or are we going to transport this truck that has a couple $1 million a piece of equipment in it? Personally, I'm going to choose myself.
Yeah, well, So I think there's a massive differentiation here that I don't think gets made very often. I have opined greatly about how shitty it is that the overall pullout was let's leave every piece of gear we possibly freaking can. And I heavily stand on that, right? If you're going to pull out the whole country, you set the timeline, right? I don't have a lot of problem with, look, we've got 7,000 guys. And as it is, we can't get planes in and out of here anyway. So get the people out. That makes perfect sense to me. I don't think there's a particularly good excuse for, we're going mountains and mountains of weaponry, mountains and mountains, the BATS system being handed over to them. That was ridiculous. That never should have happened. That should have been on the priority list of things to take. Because and for anybody who doesn't know, that's the BATS is the biometric system, which again, I never know how much I should talk about, but the premise is you keep track of everybody in the area. And when people talk about, oh, we gave all this biometric data to the Taliban, that's what they're talking about. And the vast majority of it was pretty small, and it should have left. But that is a very different scenario than there's 7,000 guys here and we're leaving. Yeah, you leave stuff behind. That's how. And by the way, had we left the mountains of broken down Humvees that we had over there, I wouldn't really care. Had we left the, a bunch of innocuous crap, I wouldn't really care. But we left some serious shit there when the whole country pullout happened, and that should not have happened. On the other hand, before you say anything, you should not opine on political decisions. So quickly moving on for the sake of careers.
Devin supports what the U.S. military is doing in the United States and the leadership above. I'm just happy to be part of it, sir. Let me speak for Devin. I'm his agent.
So, all right, we're down to the wire. We're pulling shit out. Let's see here. I know that every major movement I have ever done worked something like, okay, here's the big list of all the things we're doing, and then that doesn't happen, right? Right? And then the next list of everything we're doing comes out, and then
every time
most of that happens, right? And eventually you get pared down to this is what we can actually do, and then that happens. How did that go?
I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to that. I guess I just turned into, I'm going to keep doing my thing until I'm told to stop. It seems like we got most of the checks in the boxes. It just was harder to get those checks in the boxes at the very beginning. I do know that. They were like, hey, this is the plan, and this is how we should be operating every day. These are the number of the people that should be going out every day. And I'm going to tell you this, it was a pretty big number. They're like, this is how many people should be leaving this country every day. And we're like, we are nowhere close to that right now. It wasn't to our fault. Like I said, the people would rush the gate, and so we'd have to shut the gate, and people wouldn't cooperate in the very beginning. So it would cause a lot of delays and things. But as things picked up, we managed to start catching up to the things that we were missing. Me, I kind of just stay in my little lane. I'm not high up on the totem pole, so I kind of just like stick with it, what happens is they'll say, hey, this is the big plan, and honestly, I'll just zone out until I hear something that is relevant to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm listening now. All right, now I'm not listening. Oh, I'm listening again. So whatever they had planned that we missed, honestly, I wouldn't know.
Sounds fair. Okay. So get out time happens, right? We're lifting U.S. troops out, and there is a story going around that I seriously doubt you would know, if true or not, but let's, for the sake of the question, ask, the U.S. forces and European forces were getting into fights, as it were, over execution. And I think that's as nicely as I can say this. A lot of the foreign militaries to the U.S., but the rest of NATO was out there going, well, no, we're going to go get after it. And there were arguments between U.S. forces and everybody else. This sounds a little like bullshit to me, but it is the story that's going around. Do you have any idea?
I can say that any interaction I had with any foreign militaries out there, it was actually very smooth. I mean, like most things, we're in a stressful situation. There might be a little bit of friction and a little miscommunication, but overall, we all worked pretty seamlessly out there. I don't know about the officers and above. I stay away from officers because they do a lot more damage to my career than anything else. So, but overall, it seemed like we were working together. There were times that I was working with them directly, and it was pretty nice. I do know that there was, like I said, some miscommunication on the whole paperwork issue. So obviously, anybody that was from the European area was coming down there to get their citizens out as well. And so it kind of turned into the American citizens were supposed to be coming in, and if it didn't have an American citizen passport and say they had a European one, it was a little tougher to get them through because they were like, well, this is an American. Well, it's like, okay, but there's also European people here. And I think the biggest concern or biggest issue with that was Marines were manning the gates. I'm not saying that we're dumb, but if you think about it, Americans are manning the gates and they're going to see a European passport. They're going to be like, I don't know what the heck this is. Just hold on. Well, wait or do whatever they decided to do with them. Whenever they started getting the Germans and the French up there, I think that worked itself out more. But
so
like in classic Marine fashion, we get our orders and that's what we follow.
Right. Well, this is a thing that, and make no mistake, I have no misconception that you got like an 8-hour brief of how to spot a fake American passport. But let's be honest, we've probably all seen an American passport. If it's ridiculously fake, you just go, yeah, that's bullshit. Next. And when it's a European passport, that's not how it is, right? Yep. And so, I don't know. I've never seen this thing before in my life. I need someone who knows what the hell this is, right? And so it's, again, the kind of thing that gets mispainted in the media is like, oh, dumb jarhead doesn't know what passport is. Like, no, dumbass. It's, you might not like this, but there are malicious people in the world who will fake these documents to be able to get to the United States. By the way, with terrible intentions of what they're going to do when they get here. So no, we can't just let these people through. That's not how this works. And I see reporters do this kind of dumb shit all the time. Oh, well, I knew it was a perfectly, I even knew this person. That's nice. Your personal relationship with this person has nothing to do with me keeping my country safe. Just go fuck yourself. But all right. So, to the story, because I don't think it would have managed to not get around the base if it actually happened. And again, I have no idea if you even should answer this question, but I'm going to ask anyway, is that at some point an argument between US and foreign troops came down to weapons drawn, like no longer finger straighten off the trigger kind of things, before somebody shrugged and went, we don't really need to shoot you. And that this seems, let's say, exaggerated at best. And small a base as it is, I feel like that story would have made its way around if it actually happened. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm sure J-Lo died while you were there,
Don't worry, everybody that died probably died of coronavirus. No, so between, I don't know what you classify as foreign in this situation, but
The
no,
British specifically.
anybody that was working with the Americans. And so, I mean, as you know, people have different SOPs, standard operating procedures. The Americans are put on a very short leash compared to other countries. Now, compared to the Afghan military, they could get away with who knows what. All right. There's moments where I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. But yeah, what took us like 40 minutes to do because they have less restriction, it took them 10 seconds. And I was like, oh, sweet jeez. But no, there no point there was any kind of weapons drawn. The only time I could ever think of a weapon being drawn is whenever the enemy was trying to do some type of shenanigans that wanted us to, obviously cause issues throughout the media. But other than that, no. But between friendly forces and stuff like that, I don't think there was anything.
I have to ask you. I don't know if you can mention this, but if you hypothetically could, can you tell us about anyone interesting you met over there? You don't have to.
There was some interesting people. I'll cover I guess the Afghans. As of the other groups of people that I've met out there, very interesting. I don't know if they want to be known that they've been out there or not. I'm just going to leave it at that. There were some people out there that probably, media itself, they know that they were out there, but I'm not gonna disclose that they were out there.
Probably a smart move.
In a totally abstract fashion, there's a very big difference.
So the families that were bringing.
There's a very big difference between Navy SEALs were on the ground and SEAL Team 6 was doing X. Now, I mentioned those having no idea who was where or what was doing what, but there's a very big difference between those things. And most people don't think there is, but there really, really is.
Don, do you think Dale's actually in New Orleans?
Well, yes, definitely. Dale is in New Orleans. Why would you ask?
Why would Dale be in anywhere but New Orleans? I know he won't send me video and he'll only respond cryptically every 8 days, but sure, he's pulling security in New Orleans.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's and for anybody who's listening who hasn't paid, they're just like, this is the most cryptic couple minutes of the conversation. Whoever's listening is like, what the fuck are you guys on to?
And it has to be, right? Like this is one of those things where people go, well, we should be allowed to know. Like, well, maybe you shouldn't, right? Maybe in a year or two or 6 months or whatever, but like right this minute, maybe no. Yeah. So anyhow, tell us of Afghans in particular in this world.
My favorite.
A lot of this historically in a bunch of people's experience is that when you get this many people together, somebody shows up and goes, look, it looks like you don't have enough translators. I'll help. Any of that sort of thing happen?
That happened endlessly. Because I mean, obviously we're trying to help people, and anybody that spoke English, they did their best to help. And I remember one guy in particular. We were helping get people in, and so we had a lot more people come in than we expected, because it always happens. They're like, "Oh, I brought my family," and it's like, "Okay, how many's in your family?" They're like 7, and then for some reason there's 12, and we're like, "Where did they come from?" It's like, "Oh, this is my cousin's cousin." Blah blah blah. It's just kind of like, all right, well, they got paperwork, so it checks out. But we obviously had more people than we planned for, and we have one interpreter working on helping the people come through the location that we're having them come through. And so obviously, trying to corral these other groups of people that speak very little English. The best you got is you point at them and you point at another location. And if they don't understand that, you kind of like grab them and pull them along and be like, hey, this is where you stand. So it came down to there would be one or two people that stand up and be like, hey, I understand English a little bit better, like I can help. And so there was so many times where it's just kind of like, you come here, now you're part of this team, you're helping. Like you just got voluntold, working party up. Come on. So yeah, that happened a lot. And I just remember this one guy, he comes up as he gets through the gate, or I'll call it a gate. He comes to the location and he pulls out his papers and he's trying to like show us all these papers of like him being, I was just like, man, like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm sorry, but like, you gotta go sit down. And so we're trying to communicate with all these guys. He comes up, he's like, oh, I can help. I was like, okay. And after he got done, like getting all these people processed, and then we started searching them all and stuff like that, and he helped. He was definitely the last person on the bus. But I remember we were all like all the Marines that were there helping were chatting it up with him. He was one of the people that has been basically helping us since the very beginning. And he was part of like special organizations with the Afghan like military, Afghan government, and he was like a commando and all this other stuff. And we were just having a good old time talking with him. So yeah, there's probably more than what you asked for. But yeah, he definitely helped us out, and it was just constantly like that. I mean, everybody there was trying to help each other, and so if there was any way that they could, they definitely did.
So I think that's pretty much the end of all the like really intense questions I got. So feel free to chime in, Tommy, with any of the military skips over a lot of questions because we just know. So
well now, my last comment was about, most people are probably confused now. And now my current comment is now I'm very confused of what we're talking about. So I don't, because I have really no understanding of the military, and it's I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I'm not gonna have any more questions because the reality is that like the brutal honesty is it has no effect on me. Like my podcast will keep going on. You're in, and I don't want to say something incorrect or that gets you fucked because I turn this off and then I'm just I'm gonna go make some food. Like it's has no impact on me. So because I tend to ask the dumbest things and say the dumbest things, as Dawn knows, and perhaps I'll just cut myself off short. Dawn, take it over.
Let me skip your caveating horribly here, because this is one of those probably scant few times where you get a guy who's a guy who's been out and has some experience with civilians miss this kind of thing or don't understand X, Y, or Z, and someone to ask the question. So by all means, ask away. In the same fashion as my views on what we left behind are not a thing he should talk about. Stay away from political views. Stay away from belief in the mission or not. Stay away from very specific personnel information, and anything you ask is probably fine.
Well, that covers just about everything I was gonna say. So, yeah, I won't. Dale is definitely in New Orleans, but I'm actually running short on time. So, Dawn, unless you have any more specific questions.
No, I think that leaves a good space to just say, Devin, anything else you want to say on the way out? Sounds like a good place to call it.
The floor is yours, Devin.
All right. I really don't know what all to say. I just know that all of us that have participated in this whole situation, we all feel like we could have done more. It was a tough situation that we've been in. Not only did our country, but Afghanistan asked a lot of us in that very short amount of time. And we obviously paid dearly. 13 lives gone, and it all hits pretty close to home, no matter where you're at. And the other day, I did have a family call me and thank me for all the help that we've got them to go out of Afghanistan. So, you know, for all your listeners out there, like if you know anybody that's been out here dealing with this, one, I would say give them some time. I mean, we're all pretty excited that we got to be part of something like this, but we're also kind of, it's pretty fresh in all of our minds, but give them some time and thank them. And it's been great, you know. I am glad that I've got to be a part of the end of this war, if you want to call it that. It's shitty that it happened, but you know, like all the Marines know, you know, the most dangerous times are going in and coming out, and it definitely felt like this was probably one of the most dangerous parts of the whole thing, is for all of us leaving. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you for having me. So
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate your time. Yeah, thanks for being here, dude. Thank you, Don, for being my military translator. And yeah, really, I just got to sit here and kind of watch. So it was thank both of you for doing this podcast, as I got to watch it. And until next time, Devin, would always love to have you on again sometime. And stay safe over there, my brother. And Don, you stay sexy. And
That's how I roll.
Shut up, Don. It's and we'll wrap this bitch up. Devin, thank you so much, man. Don, take it easy. And yeah, I'll send you all the link when it's up.